there's a truth of happiness that we are here to unravel. And when we unravel it and actually understand what happiness is, what it's for, who it's for, how to unlock it, how to embody it, how to experience it, you're going to realize that you want happiness. And you want happiness not just for you, but for all beings. When my clients come to me, they generally have two different lines of thought. One of them could be that when they just get that one more thing, that they will be happy. So whether that one more thing is to just lose that extra 20 pounds, find that perfect mate, get that house, get that car, make that bit of money, get that raise, whatever it is that people are still seeking, they believe that when they get that, all will be happy, or they get to this high five, right? Then all be happy. So it's just all of these narratives that we're taught from our communities, our gurus, our Instagram, our influencers, that we're told all these ideas about happiness that can really cloud our thinking. But there's also the other line of thought that says, but the world is suffering. The world is in chaos. It's in craziness. It's becoming more divided every day. How can I possibly be happy or ask for happiness when there's so much suffering in the world? And granted, I totally understand and hear you. And so what we're going to discover together today is that there isn't all of these problems that you're trying to solve and all of the suffering that we're trying to fix. But in fact, there's just one problem and one solution. And when we go to that one problem and correct it, it's corrected, it's undone. And then the solution can come in its place. And I promise you that this one solution comes with it happiness. And not just any happiness, but a perfect happiness. So I'm going to explain to you why, how, all the goodness of this so that you can really start to unravel it in your own mind, clear away the clutter and confusion, clear away any shame and guilt that is associated with perhaps not attaining the happiness that you seek just yet, but to know that you are on the path for it and that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. You're in the right and perfect place. And I'm going to help you just clear up a few little missteps that can help further you on your path to really accept the happiness that you deserve, that you wholly, truly deserve, my beautiful souls. And so I just thank you so much for being here, because even the fact that you are willing to learn about happiness means that you are on the right path and that you're just like me. You are a spiritual seeker who wants to know the truth. You want to get out of your own way, clear your own block so that you can be a beacon of light, a beacon of love that demonstrates that love is possible on this planet. And so I promise you that by the end of this video, you will understand what true happiness is, and you will be able to claim it for yourself. And I do hope that you realize that when we accept an idea like happiness, that it is going to radiate to your life. So that not only are you going to be thinking happier thoughts, but you're going to be feeling happier and in a way that is connected with the power that does not change. I just want to introduce myself to those who may be new to my channel. I am Britney Shawley. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I am a spiritual therapist, and I have been for the last 15 years. I'm also a dedicated A Course in Miracles student and teacher. And this is my ministry, Miracles of Mind, where I help you to transform your thinking from fear to love and from pain to joy through the application of A Course in Miracles. And since you are here, I do believe that you were sent. And because of that, I invite you to like and subscribe and even put a comment below. Perhaps say yes if you feel excited and ready to learn about happiness, because anytime we do anything like that, it really does help to share this and shine this more so that more beautiful souls like you can join in the truth of happiness together. We can be the lights of the world together. And so I'm just so grateful. I'm just going to give you an overarching vision. We're going to lock into that vision together. And then I'm going to break it down into 3 steps so that by the end of this talk today, you know exactly what you're doing and where you're going with this whole happiness bit. You're not going to be confused by all the gurus and the clutter and the Instagrammers and spiritual people that are trying to clog up your brain space, okay? So what we have to know and understand before we can understand happiness is this thing. This heart is going to be representative of reality. We are obviously going to write love because that is what this represents, but we're also going to write God because God is love. But what we're being taught in A Course in Miracles is that God is love, period, full stop. Okay. God does not have an opposite. God is not loving and then turns to hate, not loving and turn to wrath, and not loving and then turn to fear. No. Our God is a loving God who does not change his mind. He does not change his mind about us. He does not change his mind about truth. He does not change his mind about what is real. We as human beings are the ones who are confused about what love is and what happiness is. Our God, our creator, is not. So it's really important for me to highlight that God is love and nothing else, because without knowing this, you're not going to know happiness, and you're not going to be able to attain it because you're going to be thinking it's somewhere else than where it really is. This is the love of God, but look, what is this? Oh, little love babies. Who is that? Little love baby. And these little love babies are our soul. In other words, it is the child. Okay. It is the child of God. So the amazing thing about this is that we are love, just like God is. God is love, but so am I. So this is me. This is you. This is us as a little love being. And then look at this. This is what happens. We, being one-minded with God, take the one-mindedness of God and we bring it with us when we are on this planet. But the thing about this planet Earth is it's dense, 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 dense energy. So when we come from the highest vibration of eternal love that does not change, we go down this corridor of light, of energy transfer that takes us from the love of God, which we cannot see with our physical eyes, but we can feel and see with our Christ vision and our Christed heart. And that's what we're learning through A Course in Miracles to do. That's what we need to do before we're miracle workers, which is what we're reaching toward, and where happiness also comes from. We'll get more to that later. So once we come down from being the love of God and into the world, we are this little love baby. Anybody who has children knows they're born as a blank slate, right? They don't come with the past. They don't come with their prejudices and their religions and their ideologies and their thoughts and beliefs and tantrums and stuff. They don't come with that. That's all. This is all developed over time. We develop these thoughts, beliefs, conclusions, and responses to our environment over time. It's conditioned response. So what happens is that when we come into this world and we start to accept mom's and dad's thoughts and world religions and ideas, all of the love that we are gets clouded over by darkness of the world. So everyone gets blocked from the love of God. Not that they're severed from it, not that they're separate from it at all, but they've just got clutter in the way. They've got clutter in the way between us and the love of our Creator. And that's all that happens. So we as love forget that we're love and we start walking around like we're a human. And once we start identifying as a human in the laws of the world, we're kind of stuck in the laws of the world until we free our minds and awaken to remember the love of God, which is our true reality. And so this is what we're working on here. But the only way we can know what happiness is if we know what God is, because we're told in A Course in Miracles that God being love is also happiness. God being love is also happiness. And so if we want happiness, we have to know God. And in order to know God, we got to clear out the blocks in our mind to have an experience. Because quite frankly, someone on the pulpit, me as a spiritual teacher, is not going to bring you to the heart of God. That is going to be you getting in touch with your inner teacher. And your inner teacher is what we call over here the Holy Spirit, the divine mind, the internal teacher. But that internal teacher is what is going to lead you to, one, clear blocks, but then also two, restore you to the awareness of God's love. So you don't even have to fully believe me right now. I would like it to because it'd be helpful for you in your experience, but you don't have to. I don't want you to just believe it because I say it. I want you to try it on like an experiment so you can experience it for yourself. Clear blocks, but then we're also here to receive the love. And when you receive the love, there is no doubt. And that's what I'm wanting you to do anyways, is to experience this here. So what we're going to be doing today is remembering this. I want you to remember this. And then we're going to break down those 3 ideas of happiness, and it's going to make so much more sense to you today. Okay, so let's remember this. Your job is to do nothing but open up to the inner teacher. And that's what I'm going to help you with today, is to open up to the inner teacher. And the way that you do that is by thinking like the inner teacher love, thinking like the Holy Spirit. So I'm going to help you to think like the Holy Spirit by dissecting these 3 ideas of happiness. So the first idea of happiness that I want to break down for you is that happiness is for all. Happiness is for all. You are not going to be able to receive the happiness of God, which is true happiness, if you are excluding people from it. This is why forgiveness is so important, because forgiveness is what clears out those blocks. It is what allows us to see love where there was once fear, or love where there was once hate. And when the love replaces the hate or the fear in our minds, we are aligned with God. And when we're aligned with God, we will have the happiness and peace. When we're not aligned with God, we won't have the happiness and peace, no matter how much we seek it from the outside in. And so it's really important for us to remember that happiness is for all. We're told in A Course in Miracles that happiness is an attitude of love. It is an attitude of love for everyone and all things, okay? But it also cannot be apart from it. It cannot be apart from love. And then it says, nor can it be experienced where love is not. Okay, so happiness is an attribute of love. It cannot be apart from it, nor can it be experienced where love is not. So in other words, we are told that love is everywhere. Like, the thing that's beautiful about this to remember is that even though we came over here to experience Earth, this is still within the confines of God. Like, God is not separate from anywhere. He doesn't come into the earth because he's whole and complete. He comes into the earth through the Holy Spirit in our mind. That's it. That's why he needs us as his channel and his vessel for peace, because he needs us to come into this world. But what we're seeing here is that happiness is an attribute of love. So if love is the container of all this stuff, then happiness must be natural because it's an attribute of love. And it can't be apart from love. So wherever we are, love is, and wherever we are, happiness is. So this is helpful in the mind training because we are then told that if there is any time where I'm not at peace, if there's any time where I'm not happy, I need to change my mind. That's why this idea that happiness is of God and it's of love and it's eternal and does not change is really, really important, because then we can use it as a tool for mind training. It can bring us back to the peace. It can bring us back to the happiness when we use it to return us there instead of using our upsets to make us feel guilty or shameful, which is what our ego would do. Holy Spirit's going to use it to bring you closer to happiness, to love. But think about it like this, okay? How much love can we already feel now in this moment through this awareness? Like, love is right there. It's in your heart. It's in your mind. We share it with God. It could never leave you. If you have life in you, you have God in you, my love. Okay? If you have life in you, you have God in you. And so if you're sitting here watching this video, it's because God is in you. And so I really, really want all of us to get in touch with that love that is already there, realizing that it's not something we need to seek outside. But this leads to the next step, that happiness is God's will. And so if you want happiness, so does God. And so we must know that God and his will is our will. This is fundamental, because if we think that God is not love, we might think that God's will is not loving for us. A lot of the time, human beings will think God is the one who permits the suffering on the planet when he doesn't. He's given us the answer through the Holy Spirit. We've elected for the suffering on this planet because we don't know what we're doing and we have not embodied mind training. But we are love's child. We are love itself. God wills his loving, beloved child with whom he's well pleased happiness. It's God's will for you. It's God's will for me. So there's a thought in the course, it's a lesson that says, God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will for me is perfect happiness. But then there's a line that comes after that and it says, why should I choose to go against his will? And this is another mind training component that can unfurrow here. Okay. So if God's will is happiness and God's will is my will, then why am I going to choose anything else? But for as long as we're trying to manifest in the world and get things and seek things and it being like an outside in approach, we are operating by our own will as well as God's. God's will comes from a place of abundance and listening to his voice. We have to listen to his voice in order to know what to do, what to say, where to go, how to see. And that leads us back to why we need mind training. Because without mind training, we are confused between the two voices. But with mind training, we discern between the two and then can choose. So Jesus is saying, I want to help you to choose happiness. I want to help you to choose God's will. I want to help you to choose your identity, your self-love, so you can live it in the world. And that is what the world needs the most, is more love. The world needs more light. So if we think that the world is suffering and like, who am I to experience happiness when you suffer? No, 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 no. Let's realize that the world is suffering, which means it's calling to love, which it means it needs love to answer it. And we are now aware that love is a reality, that love is God and love is me and love has a plan and I am a part of it. Now we're asked to be the demonstration of the love. We're asked to be a demonstrator of the light and of God's plan being alive in us. And then our brothers and sisters who suffer can ask us for help. Our brothers and sisters who struggle can ask us for help. And that asking is that moment that brings us together for the miracle opportunity. Okay, so we want to be happy because we want our other brothers and sisters to be happy. If we keep happiness away from ourselves, we're keeping happiness away from our brothers. This is God's will. As you give, you receive. As you want for another, you will want for yourself. So if you want them to be happy, and then you can help them to be happy. This is just fundamentals of how God's plan works. And the last thing I want to say here before we move on to the last step of happiness is that you're worthy of this happiness. Like, you are worthy of this happiness right here, right now, where you are. Okay. It doesn't matter what you've done or didn't do, or how far you think you are on this path or not. Like, happiness is God's will for you now. And so he wants you to be happy right now. And so to me, that would mean committing to the vision that God is love and nothing else, contemplating that you are love as he is and he wills you happiness, and then to really, really practice the mind training, the getting out of the way, the lessons of A Course in Miracles, meditation, prayer, presence, all of this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of this stuff you already do, but seeing it in the context of true happiness is radical. It's radical, right? Let me know below if this is resonating with you. Just say yes if this is speaking to your heart right now and you feel a glimmer of hope stirring in your heart that God wills you happiness and it's like right here for you, like right here for now for you. God does not change from being who he is. Remember, I said at the beginning, God does not change his mind about you. He does not change his mind about what truth is. God does not change. So happiness does not change. And so it's entirely dependable and trustworthy. And the up and down yo-yos of the emotions in this life is because we've accepted both the ego and God. That's where the whole split comes from. And yet there's so many spiritual teachers that will say that like anger and upset and sadness and pain is like just part of either the human experience or like part of God's plan for us. And I like to say, well, no, the suffering and the pain and the blame and the upset and the shame and the guilt and the fear, that is all when we are listening to two voices, not just God's voice, but God's voice and the ego voice. And at first, when we're going through the process of mind training, we're going to trigger the ego voice that is going to bring up those blocks, the resistance, the pain, the difficulty, the trauma of the past. And when that comes up, it's coming up to be brought to the light, to be healed and corrected. It's not coming up to be justified or validated as true. We're meant to be bringing it up to hand it over at the feet of Jesus, to bring it up and be like, show this to me differently. I want peace because that's your will. I want happiness because that's your will. So here, take the guilt and fear and shame from me because I know it's not you. That's the point of these emotions coming up. We're not meant to deny it. We're not meant to ignore those emotions, but to realize that those emotions are coming from thoughts and we need to correct our egoic thinking so that we think with love and not fear. So we think with God and not pain. And so this is everything that's going on here, but we do really have to remember that happiness does not change. And there's a thought in A Course in Miracles that says, what is timeless is already there because its being is eternally changeless. So that's back to this. Like God being love is eternally changeless. Like that's never, ever, ever going to change. Ever, 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 ever going to change. So you can trust that God is love and also happiness forever. Forever. And we're taught in A Course in Miracles too that I'm forever an effect of God. So I can be happy because God is. I could be loving because God is. I could be patient because God is. I could be compassionate because God is. So let's give ourselves a moment to tune into the isness of all that is. Just letting it rest on your heart. Perhaps you can feel those past layers of resistance or difficulty in understanding happiness to just melt away. Let it just melt in the way by just being so present with it now. Allowing ourselves to sink behind our thoughts of denying happiness, like minimizing happiness, seeing it as a fantasy, like just get rid of all of those ideas. Let them all melt away. Hand them at the feet of Jesus right now, because it is right here in this moment where we're being reminded that happiness is God's will for you. God wills you perfect happiness. And this is a gift from him to you, from our Father, our Creator, to us as his child, as his soul. So just allow yourself to breathe into the energy that it already exists in you now, that it's already been given you in your creation, and you're just getting in touch with it. You're just returning to it. You're not seeking for it anymore. You're just letting it land. And just tune into that energy of gratitude, that it's already yours, that it's already being given, that you're already discovering the path that you need to walk upon to help you to clear out the clutter inside and to train your mind. So my friends, if you are feeling just the radiating isness, the light in your heart, the happiness that is coming forward, please just give a yes below. You may also have some resistance or questions, and please, I invite you to ask them below as well. because I'm happy to attend to them and answer every question that is down there to make sure that we are on the same page and we're really grappling with these ideas in a way that makes it make sense to us. I want to say here is that if you feel called now to really commit yourself to clearing up that clutter so you can be happy, if you feel called to really training your mind so that you can be happy, then I'm going to suggest you watch the next video on the screen, because I think that that is going to really, really help you the most. And make sure that you like and subscribe, because next week, the video that I'm putting out is on how to clear the clutter. Okay, it's going to be on how to clear the clutter from your subconscious. How can we unlock that subconscious and just clear everything out so that the only thing that remains is love, and only love, which is God's will for you. Beautiful souls, this is our talk on uncovering and unraveling the truth about happiness. The truth is that you are happiness because you are love. God, which is love, created you in his image and likeness, and you can never not be that. And even though you are on this earth and taken on a body, and you've accepted ideas and thoughts and conclusions from this world that you've accepted as your own, you have the power, you have the inner voice of the Holy Spirit, the inner voice of love, to help you to clear away the clutter, to clear away the fear, and return to the love and the happiness that is your birthright. So I'm so grateful that you're here, beautiful souls. And if there's something that was helpful in this, please list it down below. I love spending time with you, and I definitely look forward to seeing you in the next video. Peace.